Hello and welcome to A Celtic World, a YouTube channel and podcast made by Celtic fans all over the world for Celtic fans all over the world. And look at the two glamorous places we have contributors from tonight. Let's go to the more glamorous one. First of all, Innes in Wrexham. How's it going?
Hi, Gav. Yeah, doing well, thanks. Yeah, for another grey and gloomy day here, I'm afraid. But just relentless dark days and rain. So
Is it a stretch to call Wrexham glamorous?
it's a big stretch to call Wrexham glamorous, but it's a lovely place to
Despite
be.
all the Hollywood glitz and
Yeah,
stardust.
well, it's getting a lot of press coverage with the Hollywood glitz, and it gets a lot of visitors from the US too. So
And doing well in the league at the moment,
yeah,
in the
doing well.
playoff
Yeah,
places.
yeah, yeah, and six, I think. So good result against
Wow.
QPR last week, last minute goal. So yeah, doing really well.
So this dream of Wrexham in the Premier League could be, just months away.
I think it's a bit of a stretch, but I think maybe in a couple of seasons, and they're getting the investment, so no reason why they can't.
All right. And a slightly different venue for contributor number two as he gazes out over the Indian Ocean from the most remote city on earth, Paul in Perth, Western Australia.
Indeed, Gav. Good to be here. Yeah, nothing grey about Perth today. Kicking around, I think, 35 degrees. A bit toasty, actually. So thankfully the aircon's on and we're nicely positioned in the early evening here in Perth.
Gotta have the aircon on. Here's a quick question we might want to have to deal with from the inimitable Paddy Lavery. Does Anthony not get chastised for sneaking off to the wine bar now and then? Do you get that reference, Innes?
No,
Okay, Anthony from the Tactical Review Show on Monday nights with Paul.
yep,
He's appearing quite often now on Axum. And Axum is the wine bar to a Celtic World's
yeah.
dirty boozer at the corner of the street. I think that seems to be what he's saying. But no, people are entitled to, go to the wine bar as well, as long as they keep patronising our establishment.
Absolutely.
Don't forget where they came from, right, Paul?
Indeed. Well, you can't. You staffled Anthony on a transfer.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
And me. So I guess it's it'd be churlish to grumble about people moonlighting elsewhere.
Wouldn't be like me to be churlish. Well, hello to everyone in the chat. There's Eddie saying hello from Bangkok, as is David. People saying hello. Smell like gloves in the house. 420's joining us live. Normally he's playing catch up. He'll be asking for a tune. There's no tune today, 420, I'm afraid to say. All right. Anyway. G-ditch. Right. What we're going to talk about today, lads. Can you guess? Well, this is the thumbnail. Where is the ambition? That's the term that we've coined a bit. That's the question that we ask in the tune that we play with images of everyone holding up the sign. And there is the bold Dermot Desmond lurking in the background with our two major signings this transfer window. Haven't spent a penny, and the Utrecht game is coming up. So that's where we find ourselves. Bit of a sort of mixed bag. Overall, it's a disastrous, awful season full of annoyance and regret and recrimination and infighting, all sorts of shit. On the other hand, we've a chance to get through into the next phase of the much maligned Europa Cup. Europa League. That's what it's called these days. Is that exciting to you in any way, Paul?
I'll take it. With a club built on European success, and in a season that has had way more lows than highlights. Qualifying with this shambolic season, fourth manager technically, dreadful squad, constant injuries, general depression around. If we've somehow managed to get into the next phase of Europe, it's kind of incredible, to be honest. And a win against a team even probably in worse state than us at the moment would take us there. So yeah, I'd be pleased to see us get there. I guess if there is a downside, obviously it spreads the squad more thinly going into the second half of the season. But look, we want to be operating in Europe, and if you were an extreme optimist, which these days I'm not, you would argue that there's still a treble to play for. So, let's get on it. As I say,
Well,
that's
let
extremely positive.
let's throw that one over to our extreme optimist Innes.
Well, I'm not optimistic. I was never up for this Europa League right from the start. I was meant to be going to Rotterdam. I was meant to be in Bologna, and I chucked it. So I'm not going, just with the chaos that's been going on. That said, wanting to get through tonight. See how it goes. Utrecht's not on a good vein of form. I think they've only had 2 wins since the start of November, and albeit one of them was against Porto from memory, I think. So, or Ajax. So it'll be a tricky game regardless. So, just by the very nature of the thinness of the squad. But it's a game we're at home and we should get through. So,
Well, let's talk about that game a little bit later. We'll sort of build up to that. That'll be the thing we go out on, because I think that's a good thing to go out on, because it's tonight after all, the game. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about sort of the state of where we're at in the January transfer window. How long can we talk about that for, do you think? Without just repeating ourselves and saying, it's a load of bollocks. Let's just see what happens. Okay, so, well, let's start with this. Martin O'Neill repeating the need for reinforcements. This is what people like to hear him say, Well, he talks about the game, and he says he thinks we could get numbers in, but numbers are one thing, and they're trying to get a bit of quality at the same time. For us now, we will need to get a few more in, because I think they just bolster the squad for what will be a really tough couple of months ahead. What can we say in this that hasn't been said about our need for new players?
frankly, it's embarrassing that he's having to come out and, in public and, plead for players. It's just, it's painful. But, Leopard doesn't change its spots, so it's predictable. We kind of hoped to go into the start of this window prepared, because we've been crying out for months for extra quality to the squad, and diddly squat. It's frankly embarrassing and depressing at the same time. We'll go into the last few days. You go into the last few days of this window looking for freebies, loans, whatever. Same old, same old.
And obviously, Martin O'Neill is to blame for absolutely none of this scenario. You have to say these things because, we broached the subject the other day and people in the chat tended to mischaracterize what we were saying. Because Martin did, of course, go on about how January is difficult and he wasn't prepared for the January window. He was at home with a box of Quality Street looking at the Radio Times, see what was coming up on telly over Christmas.
The club should have been ready before Martin.
Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Yeah, because Martin is sort of claiming that he doesn't know if there's any anger out there. This guy, Ronnie Charters, the journalist, he suggested that the club should have been on the ball in preparing for this window and that the fan worry is turning to anger. So I think this was the key moment of the interview. So let's be very careful about what was asked and what was answered. The question was this. You mentioned you didn't have your eye on the January window during the time you weren't here, but I think fans will point to the fact, or hope, that the club would have had their eye on these players. And Gordon mentioned worry. I think some of that worry is turning to anger at this point, that we're a week left and still the club are yet to spend a penny. I just wonder, do you understand their frustration, their anger, and why it has come to this point, and still the reinforcements are not in the door that you want or need? And the answer was, that's the case for the transfer window. There's a certain length of time after January, it's all over, and there's an anxiety. I don't know whether there's an anger there. If you're telling me that's there, I'll take your word for it. But there would be an anxiety, a worry that we get the players in, but I'm reasonably confident that we can do it. Now, this has caused a bit of a kerfuffle in social media, Paul. Don't know if you've seen it, but Martin O'Neill saying he doesn't know if the fans are angry at this stage. What's your response to that and to it causing a kerfuffle in social media?
Well, let's deal with the kerfuffle first. It doesn't take much to cause a kerfuffle in social media, particularly with the amount of angst that's going around this window. So you could fart in the wrong direction and a kerfuffle could be caused. So I take the kerfuffle on social media with a pinch of salt. I think Martin's just, as he always has done in the media, he's just trying to. He'll know fine well there's anger, but he's not going to write their headlines for them by going, "Oh yeah, there's anger. We've got to get." Like he's put as much pressure as he can on the board to get the thing done. At this point, like literally every time he steps in front of a microphone, he's asked, "Where are you up to the window? Pre-match, post-match." These kind of pre-game conferences. He'll be thoroughly sick of the conversation, as I think I certainly am. I don't know about anyone else. There's a lot of Celtic fans out there with angst, and maybe still some have got excitement. I'm long past any of those. I'm just thoroughly fed up. I just would like to fast forward to the end of the window, understand what we have and haven't got, and get on with the rest of the season, because these windows as a Celtic fan, there's no longer any excitement. The excitement's long gone. Essentially, what you get is I had a conversation with another Celtic fan earlier today, who's also a client. We were having a chat, and he said the press are barely even making anything up anymore because nobody's going to believe it. So you can't even get up in the morning and go, "Oh, what's been said today?" Because you look at it and he's like absolute horseshit, or they just completely made up, or there isn't anything, or you go, well, that's extremely unlikely, or
unlikely. The press are writing stories, about the board neglect, stuff that the fans totally agree with, which is a new one to me.
Well, it's now at a point where they can't ignore it, right? So, Martin's savvy enough. Like, he'll be sick of the questions. He'll just want the window to be ended and see what he's got. He must be a bit anxious. But I said this to some mates. I can't remember if I put it in our group chat or not, but he's basically being hired as a human shield for this absolute parasitic bunch of arseholes that sit on our board. And if he hasn't got any more players in by the close of this window, I think somebody put it in the comment, he'd be very entitled to walk. He'd be very entitled to walk because they've wheeled him out. They've relied on goodwill, and then they've still not backed him. If you can't back a Celtic legend who's pulled you out in the mire twice in the season and actually still has you a chance of winning the league and potentially a couple other trophies if you add a few players, then I don't know. I'm fearful for whatever comes next. Because if you can't support Martin O'Neill when the title's there to be won and it's a really important season to win the title, God knows what the next manager gets. It's an absolute shambles, as I think we've all said for long enough.
Well, that's kind of what this was aimed at. We talked about where is the ambition in the song, because it's all about, the fact that all the club have ever really been interested in is just staying one step ahead of Rangers and scooping up domestic trophies when there was no competition, and failed in all these chances that we had to drive the club forward and become a modern, progressive, confident Champions League team. So we're asking, where was the ambition during all those years? But now we're in a stage where you could rightfully ask, where's the ambition to win the league this year? Where's the ambition to win the league?
That's a perfect point, Gav. As you say, this window was a perfect opportunity to show that ambition to go out and win the league, get a few players in. Forget about Europe, just get the league won. That's the main priority. And there's been zero, absolute zero, not even trying. It's just utter contempt. It drives me insane.
Yeah, and on that question about fan anger, would it be inconceivable to give the answer? I totally understand that the fans are angry. The club's not doing as well as they expect it should. Celtic fans are very demanding, and we're in a bad position, and it's happened over a extended period now. But, I can only speak for myself and I'm here to do my best. Something along those lines.
Well, obviously that anger's been there the whole season, but if nothing happens in the next few days of this window, and it's going to be boiling point by next week, absolute boiling point. And Martin O'Neill's a wise old bird. He knows exactly there's anger out there, but he can't fan the flames of it in the media. But as Paul said, he'd be more than entitled to walk if he doesn't get anything. It's embarrassing that they've brought him back in for this and haven't backed him in any shape or form. So I would think the next step you're going to see is boycotts, or official boycotts, or non-official boycotts. People just won't turn up. It's already started. The stands are quite empty, and we'll see what happens next week.
McLaughlin P saying Desmond knows he's got O'Neill's heartstrings pulling all over the place here. It's hard to argue with that. Here's the aforementioned mentions in social media of this. At last, Ronnie Charters asking the hard questions, laying it bare with regards to the anger of supporters. Martin O'Neill, you're a legend, but come on, you didn't know there was anger about signings? We've been singing sign a player every game. Ken. Mr. Celtic, someone please remind Martin O'Neill these press conferences aren't after dinner speeches. Nobody's laughing. The club's a shambles. That's just a little flavour of what I've seen in social media. Smell the glove saying it's cruelty to the elderly. I've seen other people saying that it's elder abuse to bring him into this shit show and expect him to shoulder so much of the weight and give him nothing to work with. So, yeah. I can't imagine him walking.
No, he won't. He won't walk, but he would be absolutely entitled to walk, and it would send the strongest message yet of the shambles that we're in. But he won't, because he says it. He said it multiple times since he's been back. And the first time he came back both times for because to help Celtic, and because Dermot asked him, and because it was Desmond that gave him his first opportunity to come and be Celtic manager. So he feels like he owes him. But I think he's more than repaid whatever that debt was perceived to be in the first stint, never mind the two stints since. So it's an absolute, I'll say it again, it's an absolute shambles. There's not a chance we should be sitting here on the 29th of January with two loan signings. Like, I think I said it on the tactical review the other night, but the Celtic board appear to have been kind of got the wrong end of the stick about the not another penny campaign, and they've decided this is how they're going to operate in a transfer window. It's not really how we hoped it would go.
Yeah. I agree. This is no laughing matter now. Per Martin O'Neill knows what's going on. He does what he does best, a little banter in the press conference. Yeah, I mean, that's fair enough. I'm saying that you can see more and more people are thinking, look, come on, just less of this routine. As the pressure mounts as we get towards the end of this bloody window. Okay, well, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about this story, which has already been mentioned in the live chat. Apparently, we've received an 8-figure offer from Tenecti from Hamburg. Do you file this under the same nonsense as the Chermiti offer and the Gassama offer, Innes?
Yeah, absolute nonsense. And somebody's leaking it to the press. There's others there. There was Bernardo, there's others, etc., etc. Said, oh, no, we're keeping our players for the end of the season. It's just horseshit. It's just nonsense.
I thought it was a parody after that. I didn't believe a word of the Chermiti or Gastama. And then somebody put it in a group chat I was in, like another Celtic group chat I'm in, and I was like, somebody's just putting that up as a piss take because they're going, well, if Rangers can have these ludicrous stories, we'll have some too. Yeah, absolute nonsense. Complete guff. Move on.
Are we all here?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
I think we lost you for a second.
Was that me? Does anyone want to give us a bit of a comedy pastiche here and do the impression of the woman saying that? You know that one?
Yes.
Okay.
Chewing the fat.
Definitely smells shade.
Yeah, I'll pass on that.
She's hilarious. All right, so that's Tenecti. You think is a load of nonsense? Yeah, the Paulo Bernardo one. This was like a loan approach, apparently from Copenhagen. It seems. Maybe there's more truth in that. But yeah, I mean, we don't have the bodies to be even entertaining anything remotely like that. A minute silence doesn't work, says somebody. Well, I mean, my screen went black there and I had the wee spiraling ball of death, so I assumed nobody could see me. Maybe I'll just keep talking, if that's the case. Ah, dear. All right. What else is in the news? Yeah, this one, I don't know if you saw this. Officials at Bodo, this is a tweet which we can debate whether there's anything in this or is this taking the wrong end of the stick or not. Officials at Bodo are baffled by the lack of communication and transparency in their dealings with Celtic. Frode Thomason received confirmation Celtic would like to do business for Ho, is it pronounced? And centre midfielder at the club. Initial communication clear but quiet since. Now, I can't see any of this in the news, in the proper press to back this claim up. I just see them saying that they don't need to sell this fella, and but they're open to offers, and the offers are going to be coming thick and fast for this guy. He just scored again, didn't he, against Atletico Madrid? So,
he did. My understanding is from the bits I've read is that there was effectively an agreement with him that post the end of Champions League. League group stage that he would, if a suitable offer came in for him and he wanted to go, they would let him go. But they've obviously now qualified for the knockout stages of the Champions League, so or at least the playoff stages. So perhaps he might just want to see that out. But it's a bit of an odd time for him because obviously their season is finished. They've only got these however many European games that are left, and so he may choose to go if there's a good enough offer. Apparently Norwich have already bid, I think, 7-ish million euros. If that's the case, I can't see us getting involved in that. Although I think that kind of money is well worth spending on a guy who's proven at the Champions League level already. Certainly, I've been an advocate for going and spending money on guys like Bowie and the like, but it looks like that he's probably going to end up at Verona, and they are going to pay the asking price. But I think if you're going to spend 6 or 7 or 8 million, then this guy at Bodo is probably further along the curve for getting value for money back on that signing. And this is one of the things that pisses me off, right? So you can say a lot of people going, oh, well, how can you spend 7, 8, 9 million for a interim manager? The problem is we need a striker, and we've needed a striker for over 12 months. And every manager who comes in subsequent to Martinoneill will need a striker. So if you're going to spend the money on any permanent position, the striker's a place to do it. We actually need 2. So we've obviously got Chmanchara in on loan with an option to buy. So you're still able to go and spend money on another one. So yeah, I'd be all over this, but I can't think for a second that Celtic are going to be anywhere near this.
No, but if he does go to Norwich, do you think they'd give us Kvistgarden on loan in this?
I have no idea.
Long-term target.
Yeah, we've had a lot of long-term targets that have turned out to be complete duds as well. So no, I'm way past anything until the players are actually standing on the pitch with a shirt on. All this stuff in the press, I just take it with a pinch of salt these days. The Bodo Glimt comment. It doesn't surprise me. It's how our board work. Start a conversation, then just go mute or low ball or whatever else. So I think the conversation has probably been had, but it doesn't surprise me that it hasn't gone any further. So.
Anthony Joseph's update here. Norwich City have made a £6.9 million bid for the Bodo Glimt striker. Clubs remain in talks over a deal. Celtic and a number of sides in Europe have also inquired. Whatever that means. So, yeah, we'll watch with interest to see where he goes, furthers his career.
Yeah, inquired, monitored. The list goes on. But no deals.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot he was at... is he the manager of Norwich now? Baltimore?
He is. Yeah,
Yeah.
he is.
Oh.
Yeah. The comment from Brown Warrior above that one's really, it's a decent. That's a decent shout. Berg was good against us, and he's only been getting better. So, I'd be more than happy with that kind of signing. But again, it takes a bit of forethought and wallet opening, neither of which is in any kind of regard in our boardroom.
And the Maswanise talk seems to have gone quiet.
This deal should have been done on the 1st of January. It still might get done, but the last I read was Motherwell wanted 4. We were happy to pay 2 million and valued Stephen Welsh at 2 million, and they valued Stephen Welsh at 1 million and wanted 3 million. If that's the deal, I said it on social media somewhere else, I'd have given them 4 million and Stephen Welsh, get the deal done, move on. The kid scored 16 goals already this season. He knows the league. He's flying already. You can slot straight in. There'll be no bedding in periods. He can play right across the front line. It's the absolute epitome of a no-brainer deal, and yet I'm trying not to swear, our absolute shambles of a board has still not got it done. And this could be another John McGinn debacle all over again. I'm not saying the player's going to be as good as John McGinn, but all we had to do to get John McGinn was pay what Hibs were asking, and he's a Celtic fan, he's coming. We dilly-dallied, we faffed around, we lowballed, and in the end, when we've ultimately matched the offer from Villa, but he was more impressed at Villa's willingness and desire to have him join them, and despite being a Celtic fan, went, nah, I'm off to Aston Villa. They've showed more care, and this is the problem we've already got this issue that we've mid-dick teams around, we've lowball teams don't want to deal with us. Birmingham wouldn't entertain anything with Kyogo or anyone else because we dicked him about with Yang. The last window, like this follows you around. If you conduct yourself like an absolute joke, eventually people will just go, well, we don't want to deal with you. There's plenty of other people we could sell and trade and buy with. So yeah, just a shambles. I'm sick of us throwing our weight around with other Scottish clubs when we were sitting on 80 million. Let's just remind everybody knows it, but we're sitting on 80 million quid in the bank and we're sitting in 3rd place and we're quibbling over a million quid. It's farcical. Like, of course, all of these are absolutely valid. I'm actually sick of coming on here and repeating myself on this bollocks. It's not good for my mental health. It's not good for my heart health and my stress levels and my cortisol. But here we are. So I'm doing it as a kindness for the rest of you. But it's not it's not fucking therapeutic. I'll tell you that.
Thank you so much. What do you think about the theory? I don't know if you've seen it in this, but I'm sure you have. That this isn't just incompetence. This is a vengeful act by Dermot Desmond to put the fans in their place. How dare they stand up to him? He'll show them, and he's doing it all out of spite. Where are you on that?
Well, I've read it, but I can't see it. But because the board are so mute, we never get any communication out of them, so we don't know actually what their goal is. There's a lot of strange things going on. The share price is at the highest point it's been in donkey's years. Why, I don't know. But it all comes back to where's the ambition? You hit the nail on the head months ago, Gav. So it's just a depressing shit show. And it winds me up. I'm in the same boat as you, Paul.
Here.
Okay, well, let's just have a little break for a very short word from our sponsor. See if you can identify anyone familiar in this.
Every life is full of stories, and we all know someone whose story should be preserved. That's what an audio memoir is, a record of you or your loved one's life stories, family anecdotes, and poignant memories. We will talk online and then edit the recordings into episodes, accompanied by family photos and contemporaneous images of the past, creating an enduring audio-visual experience. We all know someone who deserves an audio memoir.
Use the offer code Celtic when you get in touch for a 10% discount. That's our way of trying to keep the show free of annoying YouTube ads and things like that. You never have to pay for any of our content. That's a little project which is in the same kind of wheelhouse, should help us cover costs and to survive and thrive as a Celtic podcast. All right, so that's enough of that. Let's carry on with some more of this complete bollocks that's probably never going to become reality. Celtic and Sunderland are among a number of clubs eyeing moves for Lecce defender Antonino Gallo. Anybody have anything to say about this one?
No. You could probably say arrivederci to the opportunity to get that. See you later. Move on.
All right, well, we'll be rocketing through these, possibly. But this is one I saw that your friend on Celtic AM, Hamish, was talking about with a
Seems like
degree more hope, I think.
He's going to Porto, I think.
Oh, is he? 6'2" 2 inch from Nice. Terem Moffi, 26 years old. Competition comes from Porto and Besiktas, both eyeing a loan. He was once good a few seasons ago, this guy, but he hasn't been good recently, much like our two loan players that have come in. Where did you think he's off to, Paul?
Porto. I saw a post last night that said Porto were well ahead. The deal was nearly done. Besiktas and Celtic were in the mix prior, but it looks like he's off to Portugal.
Yeah, that's what
unsurprisingly.
Just looking at the chat here. People are already moving on to the Utrecht game because they see this for what it is. Okay, well, let's look at this one. Celtic to Glasgow, suggesting that this should have been what the window looked like. Your man Ho in for 7 or 8 million euros, Mashwanise 4 million, Sigur 4 million. Those are the kind of numbers and player profiles that in the past would have seemed perfectly feasible, but seem a million miles away from where we are today. Innes, how depressing is that?
Well, absolutely. But, with that money in the bank, it's in 77 million there. That's in the accounts. And it's my take on it that the Kuhn money's not even accounted for in that accounts because I think it was up to last June. So there's still another 20 odd million to add on to that. And we're dicking around here doing absolutely diddly squat, farting around and, low balling everybody. It's so I don't know what to say.
That could just be today's show, just us making exasperated noises like that.
Yeah.
Lauren saying, I find it hard to believe that a literal billionaire who's invested in care homes, hotels, and who owned an airport is an incompetent businessman. And Dougie, nobody can find any logic in how we're operating on our football side, and that's why it looks like sabotage. It's the only thing that makes sense. Does Occam's razor end up on the mustachioed one? Like that? That's the question. When you rule out everything else, whatever's left has to be the case. Huh?
Well, yeah, you can absolutely make a case for it. But I pass trying to work out what goes on at that club now. It's an absolute joke. As I've said, I feel like I'm just repeating myself now. Just furious.
Okay.
I think the only thing I'd add is I think I said 3 or 4 weeks ago we could spend 15-20 million this window and just, I think you laughed at me when I said unseemly when I repeated this last week, but we could just spend 15-20 million this window, buy the title. And I said that was, even if that seems a little unseemly, that's exactly what we should be doing and are capable of doing because we've got it in the bank. And those numbers take us to about 16 million. So it's exactly like 3 quality additions and the 2 loanees. You're not telling me if you get those in, you don't win the league. You probably win the double and you might have a little run in Europe. I find it utterly incomprehensible why someone else can't see that.
All right. Well, let's cheer ourselves up by reflecting for a moment on the Hearts game, shall we? The fallout from that continues. Innes, you've been like traveling and stuff, and you're about to go to the Falkirk game, but you haven't
Yeah.
seen the action in the Hearts game, but no doubt you're aware of the fallout since.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was over in the States and I just got back on Tuesday, so I've only just seen the highlights of the Hearts game. I didn't get to watch the whole match, unfortunately. Well, I don't know where to go with it, but it's yeah. This fallout is just going to roll and roll and roll right through now, onwards to the. Well, see, get the Utrecht game out the way tonight, but for the Falkirk game at the weekend. I said earlier, it's from the stands. It's just going to be at fever pitch, boiling point.
Well, are you looking forward to seeing Willie Collins' reflections show where he discusses the trustee
No.
incident?
No, I mean, you can look at it. I mean, it was never a red card, but he gave the ref an option, and we're beaten on VAR. It was a foregone conclusion of what was going to happen. But the whole game, from what I could see, there was fouls, and you're giving the referee or the officials an option, and it's not going to go our way. That's for sure.
I'll tell you what I think Colm is going to say. I think he's going to say that he can understand both sides of the argument, but what he's disappointed in is that VAR actually did get involved, because in those situations where it's subjective, the referee should be entitled to make that decision, and VAR doesn't intervene. So he's disappointed with the VAR intervention, but he can understand, a different referee might have thought it was a red and that would have been fine too, or some shit like that.
It'll be interesting to see what it says, because he wasn't last man. The ball's going away from play. He's not going towards goal. What's he going to say about that? Zero.
Paul, what do you think Colm's going to say?
At this point, I passed Kieran. The fact they fast tracked the appeal and threw it out is just a fucking nonsense as far as I'm concerned. What is it? 1 out of 5 or 6 former referees in the media saying not a red card, VAR shouldn't have got involved. You've got ex-players who've been pretty negative about, not ex-players of Celtic, but ex-players in the Scottish game who have been very negative about us bamboozled that it's given. One ex-player came out and pundit said, it doesn't even look like the ball's going to make it to the box. Like, it's that far wide. Like, if you're not shooting from anywhere inside the box and it's at a massive angle, how on earth can you say that it's a quality goal scoring opportunity? It's just nonsense. Steve McLean had a pretty poor game. We covered that in detail in the tactical review on Monday, but he got this one right, and Beaton had no business getting. He basically re-reffed the game, and this is what we saw when VAR was first introduced. Referees weren't making decisions for themselves; they were leaving everything to VAR. VAR was re-refereeing the game, and it was an absolute shit show. And thankfully, we moved away from that, and VAR has been less involved. And then we get an incident like this where the referee makes the right call in real time, is closest to it. He's got both assistants on field to help him, and yet Beaton decides to get involved and show him. The first thing he sees is a still of a close-up of the player and the contact, and a big space in behind, which, again, major bugbear with VAR. Starting with the still. Start with a live play at full pace. Show it in real time, as you did. And then if you want close-ups and stills to supplement that, do that. But it's the same as when Maeda got sent off in the Champions League a couple of years ago. They led with, a still that made it look horrifically worse compared to what it was. So yeah, just another shambles and debacle all around. And the Celtic statement says, "Oh, well, we'll continue further discussions with the SFA." What does that mean? And I think when that was the thing that riled O'Neill up as well, because he was asked, what's that gonna entail? And he, to be fair, whether he knew or not, sometimes it looks like he just doesn't know what's going on at the club outside of his day job. And fair enough, because he basically said, "I don't know that's happened. It's news to me," which either he does, or he's just playing dumb and move on, or he genuinely doesn't know what the board are doing in the background, which that could be true too.
He did say he did say in his statement, he's been backed by 5 former referees who, came to the same judgment as he did. So referees that have been in big Champions League games, etc., etc. So that was his vindication.
The point Mahesh made earlier is a good one. It's like the referee could have stuck to his guns, and that's one of the worst things about VAR is that they never, or like one time out of 100, they'll do that. If VAR was really meant to be an assistant, offering assistance to the referee, then they should, you think it'd be 50-50 or something, that they're like, okay, I see your point. But they just cave every time to the guys in the studio.
I think there was
multiple reasons.
I think there was one down south in the day or two before that incident, and they did stick to their guns. And I think it was mentioned in one of the commentaries that that had recently happened. But yeah, you're right. In sort of 95% of cases, they just cave.
And of course, people don't talk about this enough. As Kev1 says, VAR has wrecked the beautiful game for me. We never know when to celebrate a goal now. That is so infuriating that you can't really celebrate a goal. You're waiting for,
forever.
all the technicalities to be dealt with. And then by that time, the excitement has subsided. And you're just like, oh, okay, we're 1-0 up. Oh, God. All right. Well, this is a very cheery show so far today. I think you'll agree.
I don't know what you were expecting. This is exactly the kind of show that I should have had some levity in and in some one of the songs, but you've obviously decided it's too serious and precarious a point in the season for such fluff and nonsense. But it would certainly have lightened the mood a bit.
Yeah, but I mean, people don't like it when you lighten the mood at serious, tense moments. Got into trouble for that before.
Either you stick to your guns and be the show you want us to be, or you cave to the audience. Your call, Gav. It sounds like you've already decided.
All right, well, here's a bit of slightly humorous content.
Hello, lovely boys. I love the Celtic world. I do. Absolutely brilliant. If you haven't already, subscribe immediately.
Yep, subscribe immediately. Help us up to 2,500. If you're new in the house, quite a few new people in the chat there. Some of the chats I put up, I think, are from new people. If so, feel free to join the party for future shows. All right, here is the Europa League table. Lyon are top of the table, which is amazing to me. I spent 1 year in Lyon when I was a student, and I went to the stadium and all to watch a couple of games, and the French football was so bad back then. And the atmosphere was so terrible. It's amazing to me how much they've come on as a club, I have to say, since. And here they are at the top of the Europa League table.
In the 30 plus years, Gav, it's this had some progress, and you're surprised.
It can be done. Can be done. Look at some of the teams that are in the top 8 there, Innes. I mean, there are some small clubs in there.
Yeah, and obviously we've spoken previously. Midtjylland in there doing well. All clubs that we as a club should be following their sort of model, but unfortunately that's not the case. And Villa's doing well too, and Villa's having a great season.
Yeah, Midtjylland, Braga, Ferencváros. Not all massive names, Paul.
No, but the ones that pop out to me there are the ones actually just outside the top 8. So Genk, who owes that and potentially getting sold from for 15-20 million. That was a good bit of business we did there. And I'm going to call them Red Star just because my pronunciation will be terrible. But obviously they finished below us last year in the Champions League and they're up in 11th. And PAOK, where Greg Taylor and Giamakis are at as well, pretty far up this league. And there's absolutely no way we should be sitting so far below those kind of teams. And yeah, I think you've got Dynamo Zagreb, who we played last year as well, above us as well. So this is absolutely, obviously we all want to be in the Champions League, but this competition is our genuine level. This is and look, we're only going to end up in it if either the coefficient is crap, which it's obviously in that direction, or when it's good, we don't win the league. But this is, if we'd done, I think somebody said it in the comments earlier, if we'd done some proper business in the summer, we could have had a real tilt at this, as well as being in the mix for the league. And we've absolutely made a pig's ear of it, as usual.
So Utrecht have got 1 point, and they're obviously joint bottom of the table. I don't see many people giving them much of a prayer in this game. Are we being a bit too complacent here? Are we going to balls this up at the last minute?
Well, you never know. It's every likelihood that, on paper we should be, at home should be winning this quite comfortably. But as we all know from the season, that's, anything can happen here. And it could be a struggle, certainly if we don't get an early goal, which is quite likely. And it could be just a real struggle for the whole 90 minutes.
Brown Warrior, see those who wrote the Europa off as a competition. They want to look at Spurs right now and what last season did for them. They went through last night in the Champions League despite poor domestic form. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, that's because they won it. We're not winning it, are we?
Well, yeah, but look at the teams in it. If we'd properly spent money and in the right way in the summer, and supplemented here where we needed to deal with the injuries that we've now got. If you put that table up again, there aren't that many teams you'd be scared of. Villa would be probably the strongest side in it, and they're not top. But we shouldn't have been getting thumped by the likes of Midtjylland. But they've run a good model and we haven't. Lyon are all right. They've had a good run, and Villa are a good side. But everyone else, if you were properly equipped, you should be fancying us to, at the very least, take them to a game, if not beat them. Like, if we're properly equipped, we should be getting far in this tournament, but we're not. And who knows when we'll next have an opportunity in it? Maybe as soon as next year if we finish second.
It could be conference league.
Franny coming in with some Celtic World style humour. If Uranus wins tonight, we've made an arse of it, says Franny. To me, Utrecht, as I said the other day, sounds more like something that would make your urination sting in us. Is that a familiar sensation for you?
No, not at all. So not even going there.
All right.
Yeah, but I'll watch with interest tonight and see how it goes. But it's just getting. If we get an early goal, I think we should win the game quite comfortably. But it's the big if, getting that early goal.
Yeah. Well, let's have a look at this information. I found this quite interesting. Team news, anyway. Sarachi, Iheanacho, Johnson, Osmond, CCV and Jota all sidelined. Iheanacho's definitely not playing in this game. Is that right, Paul?
I read something else last night or this morning that he was going to be in the squad. So, and Sarachi's back in training as well. So, might come too soon for him. But I think there's an outside chance of both of those being in the squad. I wouldn't imagine either would start.
Right. Tierney's a doubt. Itati will miss a game through suspension, which becomes a blow. Chvanchara is ineligible because he's not registered in our European squad. All right, so that's a little bit about team news here. Here's the odds that I saw a couple of people mentioning in the chat. Celtic are perceived as 1-3 favourites to win this clash, but they've won just 2 of their 3 home matches in the league phase. The visitors are 8-1 to disrupt the Hoops' plans and win the contest. Now, of course, none of us would ever bet against the Hoops, but 8-1. Is that generous?
Well, the bookies are rarely wrong, right? I think, I don't know, I didn't look where Utrecht are in the league, but I would imagine that their league match coming up at the weekend has got to be more important than this. They're out of the tournament.
That's right, I heard that.
They're out of the tournament. they've got pride to play for, but I think most of those players will just be wanting to get this over and done with and back into to league business. It's, you know, by the time once you're out of the tournament, yeah, you literally are just playing for professional pride. There's always an opportunity for a banana skin, and we are a bit light in squad numbers, particularly with yet more doubts. And like if Iniachu isn't in the squad, or even if he is just making it, you're basically going with Maeda up front again. That's your only option. Kenny's, I think, still struggling with a knock, and we've let Shin go. So you when you saw Shin go, you sort of thought, well, there must be another one imminent, but yeah, clearly not.
And Maeda looks like he's checked out anyway, so that's another man down. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a bit unfair, because he was excellent against Bologna, as were a number of the squad. In fact, there were no passengers in Bologna, but I think once again going to the well again and again with the same group of players meant that none of them were at their best on Sunday at Tynecastle. And you can't expect, it's again you're going into two big games back to back in the space of 2.5-3 days, and ask the front up. And Rio Hatate obviously has let his teammates down in all three of those games, because he left them in the lurch in Bologna, and they had to do more work that knackered them out, and therefore you had a bunch of players that were fatigued on Sunday, and then he's not there tonight because he's suspended. So an already thin squad is being stretched by not just injury, but sort of daft decision making.
Certainly is. What sort of a style of play are we going to see tonight? You know, I think a lot of us were dismayed by how we played in the Hearts game, because we ended up just fucking booting the ball up in the air and lumping it up front and hoping something was going to happen. And you can say that was because of how Hearts approached the game, but we didn't get it down and try and play through them. We didn't try and play much football, and when we did, that's where the second goal came from. So, as Andrew Gillay here saying, if we're going to be lumping it up to the striker, we can't have wingers hugging the sideline. Got to play closer together. Hopefully we're getting it in behind for Maeda to run onto it, and it's going to be one of those nights.
There's no point horsing it up in the air. Like, I think I can't imagine that was the instruction on Sunday. I think that's
some
classic.
Some people suggesting it was.
Well, O'Neill came out in the press conference beforehand and said he's not a target man player. You know, you don't play it up in the air to him like the likes of Sutton or Hartson or those guys. You know, he likes it in the channels, and he's got good running in behind, which is about everything we knew about him. And he showed when he got the chance to run the channel for Yang's goal, which was, you know, an excellent build-up play and link-up play and finish. But I think sometimes you just get players going, oh, he's massive, we can pump it to him. It's an easy option. And it was just daft. But we played Hearts' game all night. You know, they wanted to cause chaos and upset. And yeah, we never had any composure. And too many players were off it. And yet some of that will be down to fatigue. But unfortunately, you've got a front up, and it's another example of, yeah, if you've got a thin squad, then you know you're going to struggle again in the biggest games.
There's the bold Kaiser suggesting you could put a £5 on Utrecht and a £10 on Celtic in us. Just don't tell anyone.
Yeah, no, it's, I mean, as I said, these odds are quite generous, but as Paul said, the bookies are rarely wrong, and fingers crossed we can just get this over the line tonight and move on to the weekend.
What's happening at the weekend, Innes?
I'm going to the Falkirk game. So going up Scotland tomorrow for the weekend, long weekend, and take the game in on Sunday, and probably come back on Monday even more depressed than I am today. So,
well, you won't be depressed if you're up there making plans for your jaunt to America.
Yes,
Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, we're going out to New Orleans for the Celtic convention in June. So making it a 2-week trip. So we're flying into Nashville, and then doing a road trip down through Memphis, etc., down to New Orleans for the convention on the second week. So we're doing the final planning meeting for that. It's been planning meeting, which is a good excuse to go to the pub. and get no planning done. So, but this is definitely getting it done this weekend. There's a lot of stuff to get booked, tickets to be booked. There's a show in the Tommy Burns show, etc., in New Orleans as well. So, need to get the tickets for that because there's only 300 available. And get that done. So, yeah.
And you'll be travelling under the banner of the Dundee Travel Club.
Yes, and if it may be even the Celtic world, and I'll meet up with Shawnee Boy and that out there. So
that's right. Well, of course, Chris is in Nashville. Near Nashville. He's in Bell Buckle, Tennessee. Probably one of the more unlikely places you'd expect to find a hoops fan. But so you're going to be way down in Louisiana, down in New Orleans.
Yep. So as I say, we fly into Nashville, then I'll pick up a car, and over the course of that week, taking Memphis and Jackson as a potential pit stop just for the song, going down to Jackson, and then make our way down to New Orleans.
You'll be walking in Memphis?
Maybe.
With his feet 10 feet off the Beale.
What's the next line of that?
I think it's 10 feet off of Beale, I think it is, something like that.
It's not a good song. Don't like it.
Well, you brought it up. Let's move on.
I know.
And then
going down to Jackson's all right, you know.
Yeah. I'll go to the Johnny Cash Museum, etc. as well. So.
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody likes a bit of Johnny Cash, don't they?
Fortunately, we got the flights booked before the World Cup fixtures were announced, so we got reasonable prices on the flights compared to what it would be now. So, which is good.
Well, from the great Johnny Cash to somebody who I would say is not so great, but anyway, it's not for me to say. Who's in the picture behind you, Paul? Asks. Am I a great guy? I'm a great guy.
Yeah. Well, this has been asked quite a few times down the months, and it's just been blatantly ignored. But it is the Chief Noel Gallagher from his High Flying Birds second album, I think, cover. It's an artistic interpretation of that, I believe, and a lovely gift from my wife a few years ago.
Oh, isn't that lovely? All right, on that lovely note, I think we'll leave it there. Thanks very much to everyone in the chat, as always, for your comments. Wouldn't be the same without you. Thanks to Innes for joining us and Wrexham.
Thanks, Gav. Good to be on.
And as always, thanks our Thursday regular, Paul.
You're very welcome. We
will be back on Monday with the 2 Monday shows, the regular sort of show like this, and also, of course, the aforementioned tactical review with Paul and Anthony, provided he's not in the wine bar that night.
No, we'll both be here.
If he starts going astray at the wrong times, that'll be poor. All right. So I'll just throw up a few hails and farewells from all. Thanks, guys. Always a delight. If you haven't already, if you're new to the show, you know what to do. Until next time, gents, all the very best to you. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail.